Newcastle United are awaiting the findings of the club's stadium feasibility study. The architect Angus Campbell to get his take on the future of the stadium. Not only the supporters of Newcastle United, but also architect Angus Campbell, who has overseen some of Foster and Partners' most intricate projects such as Wembley Stadium and Lusail Stadium, along with the Commerzbank, the world's first ecological office tower, are eagerly anticipating the results of the club's stadium feasibility study. Campbell has indicated that the feasibility study will establish a brief, and he hopes for a selection process that allows firms to demonstrate how they would approach a potential expansion or redevelopment at St. James Park. Given Foster and Partners' expertise in both infrastructure and sporting venues, Campbell's proposal would encompass more than just the stadium itself. We hope to be invited to put our hat in the ring and show our ideas and our approach, but we would look to reach out to the planners. What are the problems? What does the city need? Because managing a stadium on a match day takes a lot of effort. It's important how you engage with the people and the fans. I know as I've been looking at this from afar, thinking how this is going to come to market, there are a lot of people out there with podcasts and very public views on what they think it should be and what they would like it to be for the fans. You have got to keep the heart in there. This was one of the reasons why the National Stadium, Wembley, was always intended to remain at its original site, despite the clear limitations posed by the footprint of the old stadium. Campbell dedicated 8 years to the project, even relocating to a site office within walking distance, to address the challenges of a stadium that was deteriorating. The design team aimed to preserve some of the most significant aspects of the old Wembley, including the orientation of the pitch and the size of the roof opening. Although FIFA recommends that pitches in the northern hemisphere face north-south to cast shadows on the halfway line, the firm opted to maintain Wembley's east-west orientation to minimize shadows on the southern side of the stadium. This decision ultimately resulted in the construction of the world's longest single-spanning arched structure. The renovation of the stadium brought it up to modern standards, addressing changes in sight lines, fan experience, and hospitality requirements that had evolved significantly since its original construction a century ago. This involved removing the old athletics track and shallow seating bowl, which had created a disconnect between fans and the game. While there was consideration given to incorporating the iconic Twin Towers into the new design, it was ultimately deemed impractical as they would have appeared insignificant compared to the imposing structures they once were. A master plan was devised to improve the surrounding area and increase accessibility to the stadium. This included reconfiguring the entrance and loading bay of the nearby Wembley Arena to align with the stadium's access route from the nearby tube station. As a result, the area has transformed into a vibrant mixed-use development that thrives not only on match days but throughout the week. There are parallels, absolutely, between what's happening at St. James and what happened at Wembley, Campbell said. Wembley was the national stadium and England's home was at Wembley. I would say, looking at this, you can't move that stadium. St. James belongs in that location. It's unique because it's truly part of the city. The site is amazing. Where else can you arrive in the city center and walk to the stadium in 5 or 10 minutes? You can also see it from everywhere, because it's on top of a hill above the rooftops. That said, it causes congestion unless you manage it properly, and one of the things we find is many of the stadium experts out there have a habit of looking at stadiums where their understanding ends when you go through the turnstiles, so it becomes a spectator experience the moment you get inside. Then it's about how much you can earn from the seats, and it becomes a commodity when, actually, the big impact is what happens to the city. We have done quite a few studies with various clubs because what you find with a football stadium is it's full of facilities for 50, 60, 70,000 seats, but then it's locked off when it's not in use and they're locked inside. You might as well have put a big fence around it. There's a shop, but it's not very facilitating. If you could open up the ground floor or terraces of it so on a non-event day it serves outwards, instead of serving inwards, it does both things. It can serve the community. In Campbell's view, anything within a mile of St. James should be considered as part of the stadium's outdoor concourse. He draws parallels with a nearby project, the Sage or Glasshouse International Center for Music, where lessons were learned regarding these arenas being perceived as public entities. The Sage was a massive project for us, he said. Think about that project. It was a project where the council was our client. They ran an international competition. They had this idea where they wanted to create a venue on the quayside. The building was not that expensive in the overall scheme of things. It was done on a budget, but what we did was make a big effort to ensure the public could interact with it so that, in effect, there's an internal street. You don't need a ticket to go in the building. The facilities are on one side, but there are public amenities in the street, and the street became part of the activation with the Baltic and the bridge. That's a community project. The people have taken it, and it's become an icon they feel very fond of. That's what you want out of these kinds of projects where it's done for the betterment of the area. With the stadium, the owners just need to be careful that they don't alienate the fans and the city by creating something that's too expensive for them all to go to, and that's full of facilities for people who are not your average fan. For Campbell, the concept of opening up extends beyond simply incorporating a museum or club shop. He envisions smaller venues or events taking place within the stadium itself, citing examples like the recent Miami Open tennis tournament held inside the home of the NFL team, the Miami Dolphins. Despite recognizing numerous constraints at the St. James site, Campbell emphasizes the opportunity to create something distinctive that harmonizes with the surroundings and is tailored around the stadium. The acquisition of land at Strawberry Place presents a unique opportunity in this regard. While a fan zone is currently under construction, it is slated to have a limited lifespan of 3 years as the club explores potential long-term uses for the site. From a distance, Campbell suggests there may be room to add another 10,000 seats to the capacity, even if it's a challenging endeavor. Some individuals in the field, with whom Campbell has conversed, have suggested that the St. James metro station would need to be closed. However, Campbell, who is presently engaged in the Jeddah Metro transportation plan in Saudi Arabia, questions why the station couldn't remain open if the columns and entrance locations are strategically planned. As for offering broad advice to the club, which has commissioned a survey to gather a variety of supporters' perspectives on the stadium's future, Campbell may emphasize the importance of thorough planning and community engagement to ensure any proposed changes align with both practical needs and fan expectations. Subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on notifications to stay updated on Magpie's news as we bring you daily updates.